Hello there, Digital Citizenship. It's Thursday, May 14th, and today you're going to take what you've learned and try to find the fake news in 4 articles that I provided for you. So you'll see that in your assignment for today, it's kind of lengthy, so I thought I would include this video to kind of explain things. So part 1 is to read this stuff. So hopefully you've clicked on this link. I'm going to read through this with you, and then you can go on to do our activity. So we've already talked about fake news is making news. It's problematic. Fake news is unverified false information. And with the increased use of social media instead of trustworthy newspapers, unverified false information has replaced historical facts, leaving readers wondering about what they're reading. It can be difficult to verify whether what you're reading is true or if it's just a catchy story created to get more clicks. So, how can you stop yourself from falling prey to fake news? You need to evaluate your information sources. So in the John Green video that we watched, he shared with us 3 questions that professional fact checkers ask themselves when they're evaluating news stories. So number 1, who's behind the information and why are they sharing it? So you need to think about, does this story come from a newspaper, magazine, or website you've never heard of? Eric Carvin, who's the social media editor of the Associated Press, says, well-known sources aren't likely to fool you. If you haven't heard of a publication, do some research on them before you believe what they're saying. So number 2, what is the evidence for their claims? Is the evidence fact or opinion? So we talked a little bit about what's the difference between fact or opinion. Did they back up their claim with evidence? Is the evidence from a reliable source? So a news organization that's trusted, something that you've heard of before, like say the Washington Post, the New York Times, the BBC, or an expert in the field. Remember, the absence of evidence is cause for you to be skeptical or doubtful or ask questions about a claim until you can verify it. And then number 3, what do the other sources say about the organization and its claims? So if a story is real, many publications will be covering it, not just one. You'll find that big national stories worth reporting will be featured in many publications. Just think about our current situation in our pandemic. It's not only on one news channel, it's everywhere you look. Okay? So we need to make a habit of quickly checking out whatever we find interesting, shareable, or that makes us emotional, because our minds naturally and automatically make us believe that these things are true when it makes us emotional, or we think we want to share that right away, whether or not that's the case. So you have to kind of pause and say, well, wait a minute, is that really true? And check it out before you share. We also learned in How to Choose Your News that we should pay close attention to the words used in any news story. So sometimes news outlets are really anxious to get the news out before anybody else, so they might report something before they really know all the facts. So words such as think or probably, likely, possibly, etc., they show that the news outlet isn't completely sure about what they're saying right now. They need to get more information. So before you pass on that breaking news, you should kind of wait for more facts to present themselves. So the more you practice fact checking, the better you will be at it. This is a lifelong skill that you're going to need to use in your life. You probably already need to use it. All right, so now we're going to complete the activity. And this is where it might be a little bit complicated. So I provided you with 4 short news articles, and I want you to click here to go to those articles. So you're going to have to kind of switch back between 2 tabs. So 2 articles are from reputable news sources. In other words, they are true and factual. And 2 are unreliable. In other words, they're fake news. So you're going to complete the form, and the form has a place for source 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then you're going to say whether it's trustworthy or not. And then your reasoning. I think it's trustworthy because, or I think it's reliable because, or it's fake news because, or it's not reliable because. So you'll click here to get to your form. So I'll show you the articles. All right, so in the articles, sources, you have 4 sources. The first source is printed right here. And then you have 2 sources where you have to follow a link to get to them. So on your iPad, you would just press on the link, and then it will give you a link and you'll press it again. You'll have to just kind of play with that to get them to go. So source 2 and 3, and then source 4 you have right here. Once you've read through those articles, you're going to complete the form. So you'll click here to complete the form. And I do recommend that you read the articles first, kind of make up your mind. It will be easier than trying to click back and forth. So you'll click here to complete the form, and names of people in your group. You're only one person in a group, so it's just your name. And then you'll have each sources here. So source 1 is the Myrtle Beach story. Is it reliable? And then you would choose yes or no. And then how'd you make your determination? What made you believe it was reliable or not reliable? Once you've completed that form, you're almost done. Your last step is to complete the exit ticket. So you'll click here to rate your ability to detect fake news. So after you've done it, do you think you feel pretty comfortable doing it, or do you think you might need some more practice? So that's all I have for you today. So remember, if you ever need to ask me a question, I'm here. You can always message me and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.